Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelly and I'm here to tell you about everything I read in the second half of June. I did a little experiment where I had my friend Dia from Novel Idea pick out 4 books for me to read and to see how I liked them. Dia and I have always had pretty similar tastes in certain books, so I thought it would be a fun experiment and a pretty safe bet that I would like what she picked. So I talked in my video of my first half of June wrap up, 2 of the books that she picked for me that I absolutely love, which were Dragon Song, which is a wonderful fantasy, and Gift from the Sea, which is a beautiful autobiography type book where it's just a book for women. And so I loved those. They just meant so much to me personally. And then the second half of the month, what do you think? Do you think I liked everything she picked? Yes, I absolutely liked the other 2 books that I read that Dia picked. The first one was A Sky Painted Gold, and this is by Laura Wood. This is a historical fiction in 1920s in Cornwall area. And so we have this young lady who she is almost 18 years old. She loves this house that's just on the other side of there's like a little place where the water comes in and sometimes it'll go back out to the sea, and so she can go over to the house and peek in, and it hasn't been inhabited for many years, and so she goes there, and then finally one day the family comes back and she kind of gets discovered, but they become really good friends. So they're very wealthy. She's from just like a working, farming type family, and she just falls in love with them. They fall in love with her. She kind of gets into their lifestyle. I'm sure people are probably thinking this sounds a little bit, like The Great Gatsby. It really isn't. It is so much more hopeful than The Great Gatsby. I really ended up loving it. There were themes of family love, themes of finding who you truly are and what you want to do and not trying to fit in a specific mold. There were a lot of friendship themes of, overcoming differences in class and lifestyle. There was romance that I really enjoyed. So I think this book, and I didn't realize until the end of it, is actually young adult. It doesn't necessarily read that way. There wasn't like language or gratuitous sex or anything like that. I wouldn't necessarily hand this to like a 13-year-old or something, though I feel like it is more of a grown-up story. I also read the classic that Dia picked for me was Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And this is about, it recently came out as a film. I think you can find it on Amazon Prime. I've not seen the film, but this is about basically a housekeeper who finds a Dior gown in one of her clients' closets, falls in love, and it becomes her mission in life to somehow save up, scrimp and save, try to win, maybe if a horse races enough money to get a Dior gown. At first I was concerned I wasn't going to like it. Even though I was chuckling and finding it funny at the beginning, I was like, this is kind of materialistic for that to be your kind of life's goal, to get a beautiful dress. But what it really turned into is when she finally makes it to Paris, it becomes about people caring about each other, people having compassion, people understanding what someone else is going through. Mrs. Harris becomes a symbol for helping others, and in turn they help her. And in the end, the dress is just not that important. But I think it was about the relationships, and it was beautiful. So yay, Dia, 4 for 4. Good job. All right, so my friend Courtney Reeds and I did through the whole month of June a reread for both of us of A Tale of Two Cities. And Dickens is just the man. He was such a good writer. I just really loved it. I mean, just the themes of, again, we've got family love, we've got sacrificing yourself for others. We have, again, like a battle of the classes, how people are wronged and then they take it too far with revenge. It's just a beautiful book. And I don't necessarily think it's the first Dickens you should start with. I did a video kind of talking about Dickens before. I don't think it's the first book you should start with, but it's one everyone should read before they die. All right, so I did read so much with my kids this month. We're still working on Girl of the Limber Lost by Jean Stratton Porter, but we finished biographies of Harriet Tubman, just such a beautiful woman who just ran so much of the Underground Railroad. And then we did a biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was so self-sacrificial and stood for truth during World War II in Germany. And then we did Theodore Roosevelt, who is one of my favorite presidents and is also my daughter's favorite president. These were all written by Janet and Geoff Benge. So I recommend you check out the YWAM Youth with a Mission biographies. They have missionaries, historical figures. So I also finished my individual reads with some individual reads I do with my kids. Sometimes these take months because we only read like just for a few minutes, 5 minutes with each of them, 10 minutes, maybe up to 15 before bedtime. My daughter and I read a prequel for the Cinderella books we've been reading. What I like about these books is that they are very clean and they take place during a historical time period. So that Cinderella's dress and Cinderella's shoes took place during World War II and just post-World War II and dealt with that time period. This was a prequel and didn't really specify what was happening in history because we have kind of Cinderella's coming together. It was a World War maybe one-ish time, but not really the real World War I. I liked this one actually better than the others because with the others that I've read, the main character keeps making silly decisions and that can wear on me, but I really enjoyed this one. I finished Wings of Fire by Tui T. Sutherland with my youngest son, my 8-year-old, and it's about the dragonette's prophecy, and so we have different types of dragons that are supposed to basically save this dragon world. I love reading about dragons. I will warn you, it is a little bit violent. The dragons are sometimes fighting each other, so I would not just hand a child this book. I would read it with them or read it first unless they are closer to being a YA reader. And then I finished the second book. I have some of the other books, but they're in a room with kids sleeping. The second book in the Fablehaven series by Brandon Mull. This is just a fantastical world where these kids' grandparents live and they always are getting into some sort of trouble. I enjoy the way it is written. Again, it can be a little bit scary, so I would read it with or before your child unless they are closer to being a YA reader, even though this is technically middle grade. So I hope you had a great June reading month, and I hope that you read a lot. Bye-bye.